Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This video will be the 1/14th train video. This is not a build video. I built this thing a long time, well, not a long time ago. Built this really during the pandemic. I was not, quarantined at home by any means, but with all the stuff closed, your evenings and weekends of going out with the family was kind of come to an end. So I spent more time down in the basement building RC stuff. So just a little bit of background. My dad, my brother, and I, we move train cars. It's kind of like a side hustle hobby. As my brother calls them, there's people that are cuckoo for choo-choos, and I guess I fall into that category. Growing up, my dad was able to find a wooden boxcar that this thing is replicated off of. I will post a picture here. And there you see that. It's a Norfolk and Western wooden caboose that he was able to buy when we were kids. He moved it into our property, and it was our playhouse growing up. It was awesome. He bought it for cheap, and with him and his buddies and kind of moving it in, just being ingenuitive in different ways, I got it in there, and someone else heard about that and asked him to move a train car, and then more people asked to move train cars, and it kind of became a side business. And so my brother and I kind of picked up moving train cars here over the last couple of years. And so for my love of RC and having the Tamiya King haulers, or the King hauler, and I have a Grand hauler, I wanted to build a caboose to move with my semi. So I first had to build a caboose. So obviously you guys know I got 3D printers, and I use SketchUp to design stuff. And so here's a truck assembly that I started with. When I started building this thing, I had to have the wheels and the trucks to go on. I actually want to update this design. You can see the individual line segments in the circle, which makes this kind of rough as it rolls across the rail. You'll hear it here. You'll hear that clicking sound. So I just need to increase the number of segments in the circle. I just left it at kind of the default 36 when I was starting to design this. And after I printed a bunch and got it going, I realized it was kind of rough. But this truck, like a wheel set under a railroad car, is called a truck. So this is a standard freight truck. This is made basically how they're made. You basically have these side assemblies. You have this main center console that has the bowl in it and the carriers, and then you kind of usually have a one beneath it that rides on, that the springs ride on, and this could basically have a little bit of give to it. And then there's normally a pin right down in the middle. And as my brother likes to say, only God and gravity keep these train cars on these trucks. So they literally just sit in there. So when you want to move a train car, we get hydraulic jacks, and some people use cranes. You lift them up, and they just slide off and roll out. So I wanted to have a caboose that I could pull behind my King hauler. And so when I started this project, I first started by building a replica of our Talbot 55-ton detach. So let me walk around the other side. So this is a true 1/14 scale Talbot 55-ton detach. I'll insert some images during my design process. But I designed it up in SketchUp to kind of get the model of it. And then once I got the design down, I designed the individual parts in AutoCAD. And we have a plasma cutter at work. So I plasma cut all these individual parts out. So I'll show a short video of that here. And then once all the parts were plasma cut out, then basically welded it together. Now, I don't TIG weld. I shouldn't say that. I do a little bit. I'm not proficient at it. So I MIG welded all this. You can see added the lights, made D-rings. I 3D printed my little outriggers, and they're not holding up. So I actually have a plan to make a new one of these. And so that will be a build video at some point in time in the near future. But instead of having all my parts plasma cut, I'm going to have them water jet or laser cut out. So you got a lot better precision on it. But the one pet peeve on this trailer is really accurate, except for right here. that distance between the front wheel and here should be a lot closer. It should be about like that distance is on these. And that has been a pet peeve of mine ever since I started this. And actually it's a little out of square. So if you look down it this way, you can see there's a small bow to the left towards the front. So it was my first one. I kind of threw it together. Took more time to draw it and design the parts than it did to build it. But I did make this with 2 small linear actuators. So I got a lever up here to raise it and lower it. So when it's on a semi, it can actually raise and lower. And then the way the Talberts work, there is a high air cylinder right in here that locks into the neck. So this switch activates an electric solenoid, and then this neck can remove. I'm gonna have a hard time doing that holding my phone. So let me pause this real quick. So there we go. So the neck will slide off. You can see there's a little solenoid in there that as I grab this lever, oh, did my battery just go dead? My battery might be going dead. But this little plunger solenoid will retract, locking that in place. So it's very much like a real Talbert. It's got even the like the camber in that beam, so it's got that kind of bend in there. I made this just how a real Talbert's made. I plasma cut these linear pieces, welded these flange-ons to make some I-beams, slid the cross members in, and then I 3D printed some like grating for in the middle. And then I'm using 120 millimeter axles, and then I designed and 3D printed my own kind of steel wheels with it and hubs, and then using the RC four-wheel drive lowrider tires. So gives it a nice clean look. I'm really overall really happy with the way this turned out, but I do have some small changes I want to make, and so I want to build another one and potentially even make this a kit for if you guys want to build your own. You know, I'm kind of hoping to get a decent price on having these water jetted out, and so you can buy all the steel pieces from me or get the file and have them cut yourself. But that will be a future date. When I actually release the build video of this trailer, that's when I'll post the files, because I'm still making little tweaks and changes. So, but I'll show a picture of my Caboose sitting on my Lowboy, and that was kind of the first thing I made. I made the Lowboy, then I made the Caboose to ride on the Lowboy.
I'm glad I beat Chandler, but that doesn't win you any extra money. But no, it's not the comments. I want y'all to say that there's a chance. We beat him. We're even now, so I just had to build.
However, that's not how we move train cars. We move train cars with a Jeep and dolly assembly, and I'll insert a picture here. And so you can see how when we move a train car, we use hydraulic jacks and lift it up, roll the trucks out, and then we roll this dolly in. So this is 100% designed and 3D printed dolly that looks virtually identical to our real dolly that we built, that the train car would basically slide in here. On the back, this can swivel. So actually on a real one, we have hydraulic cylinders that can turn this a little bit, so if we need to steer the back end, we can. And then we have a custom built Jeep that the front end of the car would sit on here and swivel, and we can chain and strap the car to this, and it sits in that same type of bowl that you see on the trucks. And then this thing can slide forward or back depending on where we need to carry the weight of the car on the Jeep. And so this Jeep I designed and 3D printed, again mocking what we have and what we use in real life. So this is where I came to the train. You know, I wanted to have a realistic load to pull behind my King Hauler. So now let's get into the Caboose. So like I said, it's a 1/14 scale. So if you take the normal gauge in a railroad track is 56.5 inches inside rail to inside rail. So you divide that by 14, it comes to like 4.02 something inches. So I rounded to a 4-inch gauge. So that's what the spacing is on this. And I have 70 feet of track, 4 straights and 8 curves. It took hours and hours of 3D printing these little tie plates, a bunch of scrap 2x4s on my table saw, cutting them out, and then painstakingly putting them in and screwing these in together. And I got curves, and I got some template set up to make curves, and I actually made a switch even. But This was made, again, trying to construct it just like a real Caboose is constructed. So let me turn a flashlight on so you can see underneath here. So I basically 3D printed this long main beam in multiple sections. The multiple sections that go between these like webs. So this one where the truck is carried is called a bolster. And so I have one of those that's 3D printed that the truck rides on, and then it's glued into there. And then I have these two webs in here, again mimicked after the Caboose that we have. Then the second bolster, and then also have the couplers on the end. You'll notice these steps are missing. They're actually just unbolted currently, because when we put this on our Jeep, we normally have to cut the steps off or unbolt them or whatever, take them off so we can make turns. So as you make a turn, the highway tires will get into the steps. So that's a normal protocol to take the steps off when we're moving a train car. And if you look inside there, the steps are, you can see them down inside the Caboose. But to show a little bit of detail, I made kind of the manual brake wheel. I got the ladder going up the top. There's usually a chain on the end here, kind of keeping people from walking off the back end. And then the doors open and close. And actually these tops come off if you want to see inside. I didn't finish out the interior. I'll kind of shine a light inside there. So I didn't finish it out. It's just wood. Everything from here down is plastic, 3D printed. Everything from here basically up is a wood frame. I made an internal wood structure and then lined each one of these little pieces of wood, like kind of hobby grade material, cut them all to length, glued them in, made the window seal, made all the window frames, painted it. And then I 3D printed a stencil for the Monon logo. The Monon is was a rail line that ran from Chicago to Indianapolis to Louisville, and where two of the main branches intersected north of Lafayette, Indiana, was Monon, Indiana, which is right near where I'm from. And so the rail line was called the CIL, the Chicago, Indianapolis, Louisville, and then it got renamed to the Monon, or also its kind of nickname was the Hoosier Line. So we're big Monon fans, and so that started really everything into the trains for us. And then this kind of video sums up my first step in building a 1/14th scale train. So this video is probably getting a little long. I'm going to end it here with this, but the next video will show the other cars, because once you have one car is not enough. So I started with this Caboose, and then once you have a Caboose, you got to have a locomotive. So the next video I'm going to show the locomotive and the other cars that I built, and then the plans for the future. So hope you guys enjoy this. Yeah, I'm not necessarily doing a build video on how I built the trains, but I kind of want to show you guys. I get a lot of questions on the train because I believe this is the only 4-inch gauge train in the country. If it's not, certainly let me know. I'd love to see what else someone else has built. But yeah, this is kind of a scale of its own, because everything that you normally see is G scale, which is like 1/50th scale. Which is like your garden scale, and the stuff is just much, much smaller. So this is realistic size-wise compared to the Tamiya 1/14 scale trucks that we so love and adore. So again, I hope you found this interesting. Check it. Keep an eye out for the next video, which will have the locomotive and the other cars. So see you later.